For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. Hi, I'm Surya Gangadharan, and this evening we're going to talk about ISPA, the Indian Space Association. So I have a small graphic here to give you some details about what ISPA actually does. So it's an industry body that was set up last October. It'll act as the voice of the growing private space industry in India. It'll work to build space technologies and capabilities in this country, and it'll help build a space ecosystem that will enable India to compete internationally. So it has a big and very ambitious agenda before it. And those are the last 2 points in my graphic. And let me now introduce my expert here this evening, General Anil Kumar Bhatt, who is the Director General of ISPA. So, welcome. Glad to have you. Obvious question, sir. An army officer heading an organization of this nature does suggest a rather strategic push behind this. Can you tell me, is that how it is?
Good evening, and I'm really honored to be here at Stat News Global to give a perspective on space. My answer to your first question is a yes and a no. There is no doubt that world over, space is a strategic domain. And the biggest users of space in the world is the governments and the militaries. To that end, yes, space continues to be a strategic domain. And in modern warfare, space and cyber are the two dimensions which will give an edge to any military to win battles in the future. More so, all technologies used in space, be it communication, be it ISR, be it PNT, that is position, navigation, and timing, that is navigation, and the new thing of SSA, that is space situational awareness, all are dual use technologies. But here for the government, in creation of ISPA, was more importantly to create an ecosystem in the private sector which could serve the commercial needs of the country. World over, space applications now have there's been an increased usage of it, and it was thought that in the overall global pie, which is about 371 billion, we just have 2%, despite being one of the six spacefaring nations of the world. And hence, the government thought that coming of the private industry, this global economic pie, we would get a larger share of it. And to that end, ISPA is there to help our private industry to come into this domain.
So, in the months since you launched, it's just been very, very recent. Exactly what have you been working on?
Uh, I would start with first was looking at maximum members in the prime industries, as well as more importantly in the startups where there is excellent potential. We've reached out to every possible startup which is working in the space domain to be able to see what they require in terms of regulations, policies, finances, and help them. More importantly, provide a common platform for them to collaborate and interact with each other. Policy advocacy is one of the primary aims of ISPA, and to that end, we have had intimate interactions with the government into the new space policies which are coming up. We have had an intimate discussion on space communication policy, remote sensing policy, transfer of technology policies, and in another month or so, round the corner would be a comprehensive policy by the government to allow private sector to come into space. So this has been our primary aim. Apart from that, creating space awareness in the country, creating capacity building in academia, in academics, in IITs, as well as international link-ups is what is our aims are.
So you mentioned technology transfer. I presume this is going to happen through ISRO.
Yeah, yes, you are right
Okay.
on that. Uh, some of the technologies which have been developed by ISRO now would be handed over to the private industry for them to develop it commercially. That apart, there are many of our startups which are having their own technologies and they're developing it. I'll come to it later.
So these startups you mentioned, um, they are, I presume, some of them at least would have would comprise people who have come from ISRO, so they have a space background, the engineering capacities and capabilities, etc. Could you give us some sense of where all that expertise is? Is it purely of an Indian nature? Is it something coming from outside also?
Most of it, majority of it is Indian in nature. Be it our startups, the young men who have taken this plunge into the space domain, and they are being supported by many of our ISRO scientists who are there working along with them in these startups, retired ISRO scientists. And at the back end, in some of these startups, they are a source of big support. Yes, space in science or space technology is a very modern technology, and even from world over, wherever it will be possible to get the best technology, our startups and our private players will reach out to that.
So, if the intention is for the private industry to drive the commercial space
Yeah,
activities, which
yeah.
I presume will also include manned flights, lunar missions, and so on, is that correct?
Now, I would just state to you in what the government declared in June 2020 and what is likely to come into the policy is that the exploratory domain and the research and development domain of space, that is, exploratory missions to the moon, Mars, outer space, or missions like Gaganyaan and R&D, this would be the domain of ISRO. Yes, wherever private industry may provide certain components or supports, but it will be predominantly by ISRO. What the private industry is going to look at is other dimensions of space communication, of even launching of rockets, manufacturing of satellites, and creation of applications.
And how is this going down in ISRO? Because this is an organization that has come up from the ground up. They've weathered sanctions of every kind, technology denials of every kind. And today they've been told you transfer all this technology and capacity you've built up over so many years to all these guys, and you only stick to this. So how does it work with ISRO?
Well, it would be not so. 60 years of experience, as you said, and excellent work done by ISRO will
Absolutely.
continue to be the bastion on which Indian private industry is going to build up. The hand holding, the private industry going ahead will happen with the support of ISRO. It's a era of change of what do you call? There's a change which has to be managed. NASA has been able to do it very successfully, and I'm
Yeah.
very sure ISRO with the kind of experience they have, and today they have a very wide spectrum, like I said, from exploration to R&D to giving communication to transponders. It is the lower end which is going to the private industry.
Yeah.
The predominance of ISRO will continue as I see it.
So, say something like the next generation of rocket engines, that will launch, missions to the moon and Mars and so on. Is it going to be developed in the private sector, or will ISRO continue to do that?
As I see it, ISRO will continue to develop it till the time private sector brings in something like a disruptive technology, like Elon Musk has been able to bring for NASA a reusable rocket. We
Yeah.
hope some startup of ours is also able to produce a similar thing, and if such a thing comes, it will be definitely taken on by ISRO for the missions ahead. But yes, as on today, the rockets which are available, ISRO is far ahead in the science as well as even the cost effective products which they are producing.
Mhm.
More importantly, they would. It is not that it is ISRO or private sector. It will be collaborations.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned, okay, collaborations. International collaborations are also being explored, or is it already happening?
Presently, there are no international collaborations as such which are on the table. Yes, ISRO did has been working for ages with NASA, with the European Space Agency, and with other with JAXA, that is the Japanese Space Agency, and others. Similarly, the private industry will also establish link-ups if they have to for transfer of technology or for development of some kind of technology which has to be required.
So I just want to step back and look at the fact that now it's a whole new era that is opening up,
Yeah.
where the entire drive will be focused on the private sector using its technology and efficiencies to scale up things. Yeah? So what is it out there that is waiting to be achieved? What is it out there?
Like what has private industry brought world over? They have brought disruptive technology. Reusable rocket has been brought by Starlink by Elon Musk. All sensors are getting miniaturized. The size of satellites for communication, for remote sensing, for other usages are becoming smaller now. Small satellite launch vehicles would very soon overtake the larger launch vehicles which we are using presently. And in all this, what is in India, what is the private sector bringing? Firstly, as I see in another 1 year, OneWeb would be able to provide space communication, provide low Earth orbit, which would provide ubiquitous communication of broadband all over the country, all over India. Their 648 satellites are likely to be launched by mid next year. Similarly, there are other technologies. We have a startup which is looking at a constellation of 36 plus satellites, mini satellites, which would be carrying out hyperspectral Earth observation all over the world. A constellation of satellites from India would be providing data and information world over when it is launched. When it is launched, the first two satellites of this company called Pixel are hopefully supposed to be launched this year,
Okay.
and in another year or so, the whole constellation will come up. Similarly, there is another company which is working at making 3D printed rockets, which would be definitely more cost effective, and they would be able to from India launch satellites. There are startups which are operating in the Indian domain. There's another startup which is looking at electrical propulsion systems for satellites, which itself is a revolution. And they are looking in the future for green fuel for rockets to go up from India for the world. Similarly, there is a small company working on space debris detection, which in another year or two would be able to do this very important work. And like they say, they would be providing the Google for the space. Uh, Rockets and other things, satellites going through the debris which have increased over the years.
So, what about people like Elon Musk and all? You mentioned that OneWeb is going to happen soon. Do these, say, a guy like Elon Musk, he wants to collaborate with Indian entities? This is now possible at a private sector level? This will be
Oh,
decided
yes,
by
it
them
is
alone,
possible.
the private sector
Oh, yes,
guys
it is
working together?
possible, but they have to come through the Indian regulations and the licenses and all, which have to be permitted by the Department of Telecommunication and Department of Space. The initiative which they had launched, Starlink, of giving satellite receivers to others, this was done without the formalities which were required. But I'm very sure they are very soon going to take these permissions in India, and they would also come into the Indian market as collaborators or independently. I'm not sure.
So, what is this size of the market we are looking at? People talk of billions of dollars, ridiculous figures are coming up. What is it that we are looking at?
Uh, Firstly, like today they say the space economy, which is about 350 billion, would go to a trillion by 2040.
By
And
2000?
2040,
Okay.
1 trillion. And if this economy expands to what it is, and our share from 2.6%, I'm very sure, is likely to increase. Uh, I would not put a figure on it, but at least India will aspire to have 10% or more. And this would be a large part of the economy. In communication, like in space communication is now going to further help in reducing the digital divide in India. In India today, terrestrial communication has done a very excellent job of providing digital communication to large part of the country. But there's a large rural part, there's a large part which is untouched by them because of the costs involved, because of the vibration of distant areas like Andaman, maybe areas in central India, maybe northeast, and maybe our borders, where space communication will along with terrestrial communication ensure that the digital divide is overcome.
So, looking downstream, where are what would we identify as the technological gaps that we have in our space efforts? Where are the gaps? What are they?
Uh, what is most importantly required is we have a lot of data. We have to have more and more of our startups and companies coming into the applications, coming into the downstream applications of these because the market and the economic market is in the downstream. We have some startups who have developed into it. There's Map My India, there is Skylo, who have been doing and providing applications. But this is one domain which has a lot of potential, be it in agriculture, fisheries, insurance, and many other domains.
What about defense? You're the defense man. Tell us about the defense
You
spin-offs
know,
here.
it provides now an opportunity, like I said, in remote sensing, PNT, and communications, that the defense also has alternative with disruptive technology coming through private sector for usage. Definitely, space is a very, very important domain now, which defense forces have to have. It is the highest or the final frontier which has to be dominated by any military, which has to be a battle winning military for the future. And it is very important. This would be provided by definitely by ISRO, DRDO, and of course, we also expect private industry to provide options and opportunities in this.
So, does the military have a certain idea as to how they intend to use space?
Oh, yes, the military has now a defense space agency which is looking into all dimensions of what would be required by the army, navy, and air force in like these three domains which I've talked of: communication, PNT, and uh, communication, PNT, in and also now in SSA, that is space situational awareness and space domain awareness. And they're working out. They have plans with them. They see what they have to do in it, and they will definitely look at also the private sector.
Interesting, fascinating. Um, would you say the Air Force will be the lead armed forces branch that will get into space?
As I said, the Defense Space Agency is a multi-service agency. It would have components of all our users: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. Yes, presently the DG of the space agency is from the Air Force, but that notwithstanding, it would be a tri-service effort. It would be all services getting involved into multiple uses which are there of space.
That means you have to start planning for getting the right kind of people into these kind of jobs,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes, and we see Defense Space Agency growing, expanding, and establishing links all over.
Fascinating, General Bhatt. Very informative and great talking to you. Thank you very much for all that perspective. And going forward, I'm sure we'll take this conversation again. Thank you very much, sir.
I look forward to that, and thank you very much.
And for those of you who have been following this discussion, thank you for your comments, observations, and questions. Follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you very much. Good night.